Hello everyone and welcome to this month's Roundup. We have a lot of ground to cover, so I think we should just get into it. But before we do, I would love for you to subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get started. So we're going to start off with my disappointments, and my biggest disappointment lately has been the Huda Beauty Easy Bake and Snatch powder. I don't even know where to begin, and I don't want to go too hard on this powder, but it was the worst powder I've tried in a long time. I don't even know where to begin. It's just all bad. I was extremely excited for this powder because I'm such a huge fan of the original loose Easy Bake powder. It's phenomenal. It's one of the ones I go in with every day. It's a powder I have on constant rotation. But for some reason, they made this powder luminous, which I don't know who wants to set their face with a luminous powder. It always ends in a textured result. This powder will enhance every pore, every line you have, and it honestly just doesn't even set my makeup. It allows my makeup to still roam around as it wants, but it just makes it look really creasy and obvious that I'm wearing a layer of makeup. It just is a cakey disaster. You'll see in the demo shots how badly this wears under my eyes, and keep in mind I was wearing that concealer set for like 10 minutes. Imagine if I wore this all day, what would happen to my under eyes? I don't know, I'm scared. But you can see a huge contrast in results with the original loose powder and this powder. Just terrible, just terrible. This powder started off really good for me until it didn't. This is the Milk Makeup Pore Eclipse Translucent Loose Setting Powder. This was another powder fail for me. It looks amazing when it's freshly applied, but it just gets really, really cakey and obvious throughout the day. It's nowhere near as horrible as the Easy Bake and Snatch pressed powder, but it's still not the best. I would not recommend this one either. This next one is the Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Serum Skin Tint. I wanted to love this one because it looks amazing immediately applied. I tried everything to get this product to work for me, but I couldn't do it. It looks great immediately applied, but then you like look away from your mirror for a moment and then you look back and it's just a grainy mess. For some reason, this product really separates on me or something, but it just makes my skin look really flaky and dry. It's kind of weird. It will make my skin look flaky and dry, but at the same time really oily and greasy. I don't get the science there, but it just did not work for me, unfortunately. So I wouldn't recommend this skin tint either. And my last disappointment is another Huda Beauty product. This is the Glowish Super Jelly Lip Balms. So these are kind of like pH lip balms, but they don't really do anything. They don't even do much hydrating. I just think there are much better products like this out there. These ones are below everything. These are very forgettable. Like, these have nothing special to them whatsoever. There are millions of better lip balms that have cute tints to them. These don't hydrate much, they don't feel that great, and the tints are all the same. They're kind of like makeup clickbait again because they come in these like fun colors. You think they're going to be kind of like the MAC Squirt Sticks maybe, but they're just really subpar. I think that's that on that. Sassy. Now let's move into my likes. I think we need to lighten the energy here. I really went into the products I disliked this month, but let's start off with these eyeshadow palettes from Kaleidos. I really enjoyed them. I really like this one. I'm not so much of a fan of this one. I think it's just a little bit light for my liking, and I'm not a huge fan of this kind of pressed glitter. Although it's striking, it's just not really in my tastes. I much prefer this type of eyeshadow palette where there's a lot of rich depth, and the shimmers in here are stunning. Specifically this purpley one. Like, it is jaw-dropping beautiful. I just don't like this collection as much as I did of this one, you know, and they're quite similar, and this one was way more up my alley. But if you're really drawn to this color story, I mean, go for it. Their eyeshadow palettes are amazing. Their formula is unbeatable. It's unmatched. It feels really velvety and soft, and the pigment is insane, but they don't act like normal pressed pigments. They're very soft, and they don't like darken when they touch your eyeshadow primer. I don't know how to describe it, but some pressed pigments are way too dry feeling and powdery feeling, but these ones are really rich and luxurious feeling. But yeah, I'm just not as drawn to these eyeshadow palettes as I was with this collection. But that's my taste. You may feel very differently than me. But they also brought out these blushes, which actually grew on me throughout the month. At first, I was really not a fan of them, but I actually love using these as blush toppers. So I use these kind of as like an extra step in my makeup routine for fun. I don't think that you need these blushes whatsoever, but I have become quite a big fan of them more and more as the month went on. The shade I grabbed the most was Pale Rose. I love this one as a blush topper. Let's just do an example right now. I'll do Pale Rose. I feel like it'll suit this vibe. They're quite pale in tone, but once they go on your cheek, the vibrance kind of unveils, and it's such a soft formula. It feels very similar to their eyeshadows, just a lot less pigmented, of course, but they're nice. I would be more down to try their other shades that they have, but in this collection, they brought out some really, really pale looking colors, you know? I'll try to hold them up all at once. I've done that before, I can do it again. These are the colors, so you can see they're very pale leaning, but they transform once they're on the face. But all to say, I don't wear these on their own. They're kind of an additional product to my life, so that's why I just kind of like them. They're fun, but they're not like a product I would say go out and buy them immediately. The next product is this Physicians Formula Butter Glow Liquid Bronzer. I like this tenfold over the liquid highlighter they came out with in this collection. This one performs really well. I have noticed that you can't apply this one when you're in a rush or else it's going to get really patchy. This color is also finicky for me. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I hate it, sometimes I find it a little too warm for my liking, but it looked really good in the summer. The consistency is really nice. It has a very thin, watery feel with a little bit of a gel texture in there too. So it does have a little stiffness, which is nice. But yeah, I just like it. I'm not all about it. Now let's talk about the Surratt blushes. I'll talk about the liquid formula first. I really like the actual formula inside here, but the packaging is just not great. The sponge tip here just absorbs all the product, and if you try to put it on your face, it doesn't. The sponge says, I want the blush. You don't have to have it. But thankfully, you can easily take it off, and then you can dispense the product on your hand or palette easily, but the sponge does not perform like the Charlotte Tilbury sponge tips or the Maybelline concealer sponge tip. It just is not great. But the actual formula is really nice. It kind of reminds me subtly of the M Cosmetics serum blushes in the way that it's a super dewy, serum-y texture. They're very sheer, but it adds a cute little tint with a really nice hydrated finish. There's a little bit of a pearl in there that I think looks nice, but I think this may be a product I kind of forget about over time. I much prefer the powder duo I have. This is a build your own palette. Like, this isn't an actual palette you can buy offhand. It's a palette you fill with singles. So I have the shades Barbe Papa and Tu me fais rougir, and I really like them, especially when I stack the two. I'll use this as my blush and I'll use this as my highlighter, and it creates a really cute cheek moment like you'll see in the demo shots. They're both powders, so they feel really nice, but they have a nice hydrated feel too. They feel kind of moussey, which really helps when you're blending them out. I really like that hydrated feel when it comes to very pink blushes like this. I feel like it helps to make it not look so ashy or powdery on the cheek. So this is really good. I'm gonna sneeze now. Oh my god. Wow. And we're already on to the last category, which are my favorites. And let's start off with these lip pencils from Jones Road. I have been loving these. These are the lip pencils I've been exclusively wearing ever since getting them. The range of tones is beautiful. There's some really nice rich nudes and some kind of lighter pinks, and the formula itself is also very easy to love. It has a nice matte finish that's not too drying. It glides on perfectly. They're very creamy and mousse-like. They have like a nice cloudy feel, which feels nice and lightweight on the perimeter of your lips. They also don't have a sheen. They're very matte, which is important to me. They just fit in my collection so easily. I'll highlight a few of my favorite shades because they turned out to be different than the ones I originally thought were going to be my favorites. My number one favorite is Mauve. It's the exact same color as my natural lip color, so I think it's really nice and flattering. And the other shade that I've been using constantly is Nude Rose, but all of them are completely stunning. And I'm sure I'll have my phases with some other shades, but those are the two that I've been gravitating towards the most. Next, I have this mascara from Romand. This is the Han All Fix mascaras. And if you want a mascara that matches your hair color, this is the formula to go to. It's very similar to the Clio Kill Lash mascara that I've been loving. It's just a lot harder to remove than that one, which is kind of unthinkable because that one is already so hard to remove, but this takes a little bit of elbow grease, but oh my goodness, are they ever flattering. The two shades shades I have are Long Ash and Long Hazel, and they're just really nice. The brown Long Hazel is an actual true brown. It's not like a blackened brown, but it still adds a nice depth to your lashes. They're really flattering and very cool, so I highly recommend you checking them out if you want something softer than a black. I have some eyeshadow palettes to talk about. So first up is this Huda Beauty Glowish palette. This is in the shade Moss. I actually really like this one for greens. They actually show up green on the eye and not like a super slate gray. They're very flattering, and oh my goodness, is this formula ever good. It's actually super consistent and pigmented, which I find to be super rare for this type of green. I mean, look at that. That is matcha goodness. It honestly just looks like pressed matcha powder, and I've been looking for a tone like this forever. And I love how it just comes in this little quad. I've been able to create some really fun looks with this. It's really good. So if you're looking for good greens, look no further than this. This is the other eyeshadow palette I wanted to highlight. This is the Clio Pro Eye palette in 19 Napping Cheese. They also have a cooler toned version of this, but I'm more into these types of colors. There's some nice peachy pinks and some really pretty warm browns. This eyeshadow palette will give you kind of a more eye tint kind of vibe. It's not going to give you intense pigmentation, but this is like a really nice everyday palette. I love how soft it is and the shimmers in here. If you're a big fan of the Urban Decay Moondust eyeshadows like Space Cowboy, you're going to love the shimmers in here. They're a little bit more opaque, I guess, than Space Cowboy, but they have that same kind of magic glimmery look. And you can do kind of an opaque application or a very sheared out one depending on how you apply, and it just looks like stardust. This palette is phenomenal and I just love the whole theming around it. I love how it came with these stickers you could add on. The whole thing was just so cute, and it's actually so good on the inside as well. It just has everything you need, and it also came with this cute little eyeshadow brush, which is actually really handy for little detail work. It's awesome. It's truly so good. Now let's talk about the Surratt bronzer. This is an amazing bronzer, holy moly. Okay, the texture of it reminds me a lot of the Glowish bronzer that I adore, but this one's just a lot more pigmented and it'll give you a more intense finish, but it has that beautiful sheen, that hydrated powder feel, which is so nice and rich to work with, and the color is just stunning. I love this color. It has kind of a more olivey, more yellowy undertone, and it just makes you look really nice and golden and tanned. It was wonderful. This is what I took to Greece, and it was perfect for my more beachy leaning looks. I love it, love it, love it. I am so happy to tell you guys that the Glossier foundation is a favorite. It is fantastic in every which way. I use the shade Light 2 and it perfectly matches my skin. The consistency of this foundation is so nice. It leans on the thicker side, but it just melts in like a really thin serumy foundation. It offers you a nice light to medium, kind of like on the more full coverage of medium, if that makes any sense, depending on how you apply it, but it covers up all of my imperfections, my redness, and it makes my skin look amazing. It has my desired skin finish. It gives my skin like a nice natural skin finish with a little bit more glow that's not greasy leaning or too dewy leaning. It's perfect for my oilier complexion. It works well with my primers I love and all of the other products I like to layer on top of my foundation. It's just been a dream, and it's been looking really great around my problem area, around my mouth lately. It's just really, it's a flawless foundation. I've been loving it. I did do a 2-day wear test about this foundation, so if you want more details on it, I would recommend watching that video. But yeah, this gets my stamp of approval for sure. I have another complexion product here. This is the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Corrector, and this is a really good one. I was expecting this to be too high coverage for a corrector, but it actually is really nice. It has a nice thinner gel feel, and you only need a tiny amount of this for this to actually work. So I think I'm gonna have this bottle for life, because even that is a lot for both eyes. But it has a really nice texture. It's quite thin, but it has kind of like a grippy matte feel, so I think it grabs onto concealer really nicely. But on my more tired days where I have a lot of blue under my eyes, this corrects that immediately. And I love how handy this product is. A lot of my other correctors come in little pans or pots, but it's just a lot easier to go in with a wand. I have some blushes next. These are the Givenchy 4-color loose powder blushes, and these are really nice and unique to my collection. I've never tried a loose powder blush before, and it's actually really fun to use. At first, I wasn't sure about how this was going to work out for me, But the other week I found myself looking at the other shades that they offer on their website, which means I love this product. I think this is a really fun design. So you get 4 little quadrants, and once you tap some of the product out, they mix together and create a really pretty color. But these are really nice and easy to work with. I was afraid that they were going to be way too powdery and they wouldn't adhere to my cheek very well, but it does the opposite. It adheres really nicely and it builds really slowly as well. They give a really nice dimensional look to your cheek. They offer a little bit of glow, which is nice. And they look really nice and rich but soft on your cheeks. My favorite shade is 5, but I also picked up the cool pink, which is really cute too. When I first used this on my channel, a lot of you asked if I could just like take out one color at a time. I wish they had kind of like a stopper or something, but you could get creative with tape, I'm sure, if you want one specific color. But I think the color that they create all together is beautiful. I don't have that want to cover all the holes. I don't know. They're beautiful on their own. And the last product to finish off this video are the new Kaleidos Untamed Glow Glossy Lip Glazes. You have no idea how many takes it took me to get that name right. It's seriously a tongue twister, but this formula is delightful. If you are familiar with the Rare Beauty Glossy Lip Balms, it has a similar feel, but a much more pigmented effect. And these feel a little bit more silky, whereas the Rare Beauty one is a little bit more tacky in the balm sense, if that makes sense, but it has that gorgeous lip feel. There are so many gorgeous shades in this collection too. I find them to be a little bit more unique because they're all smoky shades. Some of my favorites are Free Fall, which is the glittery smoky color. It honestly makes your lips look so juicy, but it also has the most beautiful glitter in here. It looks like little LED lights that are sparkling at you. Like Disney would be impressed. It's insane when you look at it in direct sunlight. But the other shade I've been really drawn to has been Pink Marquise and Last Smoke, which is a really nice mauvey smoky color. I'm gonna add a little bit of that on my lip so you can see the effect. But they're really glossy, but they don't feel super glossy on the lip. Like they don't feel very heavy and gloop-like. Their shine does not match the texture. They're gorgeous. A lot of you were saying that it looked like little I don't know if I can say that on YouTube. Little fun toys? I guess kind of if you rounded this. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I see it. You guys are so dirty. I didn't see that before, and usually I can spot those things from a mile away. But I thought the packaging of these were so fun and different. Okay, maybe that's why I thought they were so fun and different. Okay, anyways. They're really nice glosses. I'm happy we're ending on that note. I think it's funny. But that's going to be all for this month's roundup. I really hope you enjoyed it and found it helpful. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. I will have everything linked and listed in the description down below, so feel free to check that out, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.